mentioned one. We are more than 90 actually as team members in the team across Europe, and we do have delivered, so gained experience on more than 2 million appliances delivered at the door of the consumer. So it's a bit of time that we do this job, and as you can imagine, once you operate through different channels, different countries, more languages, 16 different brands, the number of products and the number of descriptions and the number of titles and the number of textual content that you need to elaborate, it's quite massive. And if you are not built on the e-commerce purpose, how do you get from non-e-commerce purpose to an e-commerce purposed content? That's the real question that, and I'm very happy actually to be here with Contents, because we had a very good program together, a very good project that is still running, and that is shaping completely differently the face of 10,000 products, and you will start seeing it in our websites and all the descriptions and the titles and all the textual contents that will be completely reshaped through the tool. So the tool is helping us to take something that was not fit for e-commerce, not e-commerce thought, to something that can help us in ranking better on Google, in something that the consumer will understand better how. Of course, it depends on how much information we give back to the tool. So we are trying to give as much as possible information to the tool so that we can actually get a very good content for our consumers.
Thanks, Marco. And I think that what you mentioned now, I mean, is one of your top priorities, making sure that all the catalog is somehow coherent, whether the product descriptions belong to your e-commerce or third-party marketplaces. Even though there are slight differences, you need to have somehow this coherence that we are trying to achieve with the tool. And based on what Marco mentioned, I just want to show you how it typically works for an enterprise customer. And this is the specific, of course, example for Beko to build the platform and make sure that then they have the tool available to generate content. So there is one first phase which is usually the most painful but also the most important, which is data collection. Because you all know that LLMs have their own generic knowledge, they pick pieces of information from there, and this could result in generic content and most of the time full of hallucinations, wrong or incorrect information. So the main way to avoid this is to build an alternative knowledge base through retrieval augmented generation, which is one of the main techniques nowadays in the Gen AI world to avoid these problems. And in the case of Beko, we actually collected a lot of materials because we started from the product information, because as he mentioned, each product must have accurate information. We're talking about technological products, so you can't mess which technology the dishwasher is using rather than another one. So it was very important for them to have this corpus of product information, so we started from there. Then at the same time, we're also able to work around the tone of voice that the LLM will use when generating the product description into different languages. And in the case, of course, as you saw before, Beko has different brands, so we have to create different tone of voices depending on the documents that are shared with us, generally brand guidelines. Then we also ask for product description examples. I mean, kind of like the best-in-class product description that should be replicated by LLMs, because LLMs are pretty good if they have references. Nowadays, it's not very useful to have a big chunk of references. You only need just a few examples. And then also the linguistic nuances, because in the case of Beko, even though the general structure is the same, the German product description may be slightly different from the Italian one. And all these pieces of information for a copywriter or a team of copywriters may be difficult to manage, while for AI is pretty simple. But you need, of course, the know-how to build this, and this is why once the first phase was completed, we shared everything with our AI, a team of AI engineers, which are those who make the magic happen, I'd say. So from these documents, they started building the pipelines and also working around LLMs, because we are agnostic. We can use OpenAI, Anthropic, Mistral, no matter. We usually do an analysis prior to the delivery. And the final result is a platform where the final user is pretty helped when it comes to using it, because it's very straightforward. In the case of the product descriptions, you're going to see that you just need to upload a file with specific inputs, for example, the product code. Starting from the product code, AI will recover the adequate information, combine it with the type of brand for the tone of voice, and then go on with the generation. And of course, as you can see over there, we're talking about a bulk generation, so not one single product description at a time, but 100, 200, 1,000, and so on. And we're also working with them then on another tool, which is for newsletters, but it's a different area. Over here you can see a video, even though this is kind of like a prototype, I'd say, of how the tool works. So you can see that you can upload an Excel file, which already has the predefined inputs that we share with the customers beforehand. You can start the generation, and then you're going to see in just a few seconds that the Excel file will be generated within the platform, where you can open each single product description and even edit that with the editor that we have available within the platform. But of course, okay, so you see this is the potential product description with all the different elements that are of course aligned with what Beko was looking for. But the real added value is when, of course, you are generating multiple product descriptions, so the bulk generation. And as you can see, you can download the Excel file, which we're seeing right now, upload it on Excel, of course, because the format is CSV, and then get all the product descriptions, even though in this case you'll only see 3, if I'm not mistaken, but the idea is that you can manage thousands of product descriptions into multiple languages, and each language with its nuances. So inevitably this is a game changer for these companies and in general the retail segment, because you can manage all your e-commerce content over here with no efforts at all, because I don't know if you saw that, but you don't have to prompt, you don't have to instruct the models to how the product description should be written and so on, but everything is done in the back end of the platform. And before going into the Q&A, just some KPIs that we're usually tracking with the enterprise customers. There is a 70% cost saving compared to a traditional production with human copywriting, an increase of the daily output of around 18 times, a reduction of the execution error of around 75%, and then also in the case of SEO optimization, a 15% increase. And regarding this optimization, now we're moving towards generic